It began quietly. A whisper on social media. A headline buried beneath bigger stories. But within hours, it had grown into a storm. Jamie Dornan accused of cheating. One post read, its tone casual but sharp enough to wound. Another followed. Dakota Johnson devastated after shocking betrayal. At first, fans ignored it. They'd seen 1,000 false rumors before. But this one was different. It spread faster, louder, and hit too close to the heart. By midnight, #Jamie cheating rumors and #pray for Dakota were trending across the globe. Every major outlet picked it up. Some cited unnamed insiders. Others shared blurred paparazzi photos claiming to show Jamie with a mysterious woman. The images were grainy, impossible to verify, but in the world of online gossip, facts no longer mattered. What mattered was emotion, and for millions of fans, heartbreak was instant. As the headlines multiplied, people began asking the same question: where is Dakota Johnson? She hadn't been seen in public for days. Normally graceful, calm, and smiling, Dakota had vanished from the spotlight. And when she finally reappeared, spotted leaving a studio in Los Angeles, her expression told the world everything they needed to know. Her eyes were hidden behind dark glasses, her head lowered. She didn't wave to photographers. She didn't smile. The tabloids zoomed in, cropping the images to capture every detail: the tired face, the messy bun, the quiet sadness. One magazine cruelly titled its article, "Dakota's Breaking Point." But those who know her say the truth behind those pictures is far more painful. A source close to the actress told Hollywood Uncovered. She's been very emotional. She feels betrayed, not necessarily because of what's true or false, but because she trusted him. She's been avoiding calls, trying to stay off social media. This has really shaken her. Friends described Dakota as fragile and overwhelmed, struggling to separate her private life from the tidal wave of speculation that had engulfed her name. It wasn't the first time Dakota and Jamie had been caught in the web of Hollywood's obsession. Their connection had always been misunderstood, ever since 50 Shades of Grey turned them into one of the most talked about on-screen duos in the world. Fans fell in love with their chemistry, tabloids turned it into a love story, and every small gesture, a look, a smile, a laugh, became evidence. But this time, it wasn't about nostalgia or fan theories. This was personal. Over the years, both Dakota and Jamie had maintained a respectful friendship despite the rumors. She'd defended him in interviews, praising his kindness and loyalty. He'd spoken fondly of her professionalism, calling her the best partner anyone could ask for. That's why this rumor cut so deep. It wasn't just about alleged betrayal. It was about the collapse of trust, about seeing someone you once cared for dragged through the mud while your own name gets caught in the same storm. An insider revealed, Dakota has always been private, but this has really affected her mental state. She's been anxious, sleepless, questioning everything. People close to her are worried. The tension grew worse when fans began connecting dots that didn't exist, comparing timelines, twisting old photos, and suggesting Dakota's emotional posts were indirect messages to Jamie. One story in particular broke the internet: Dakota's recent Instagram story, a black and white photo of an empty ocean, captioned, "Some wounds never heal, they just stay quiet." Within minutes, it had over 1 million shares. Fans flooded the comments with crying emojis and messages like, "Stay strong, Dakota," and "We're here for you." For many, that post felt like confirmation that the rumors had taken a toll far deeper than anyone realized. Meanwhile, Jamie remained silent. His representatives declined to comment, and that silence only fueled the fire. Some called it guilt. Others said it was his way of protecting Dakota from more chaos. But the damage was already done. Behind the glamour of Hollywood, behind the smiles and red carpets, Dakota Johnson was struggling in silence, battling anxiety, exhaustion, and heartbreak under the weight of the world's eyes. One friend summed it up painfully well. "She's human, she's strong, but she's tired. People forget that behind the headlines is a real person, trying to hold herself together. And as the noise grew louder, Dakota began to retreat further, away from cameras, away from interviews, away from everything that once made her shine. Because sometimes, the hardest part isn't the rumor itself, it's the echo it leaves behind. The days that followed felt endless for Dakota Johnson. Hollywood was still buzzing with gossip, but behind closed doors, the woman the world once called unshakable was quietly unraveling. Her friends noticed it first: the long silences, the cancelled plans, the way her voice cracked when she tried to sound fine. "She's been through a lot," one close friend reportedly told Variety Confidential. But this one hit differently. It wasn't just another rumor, it felt like betrayal from someone she once trusted completely. According to insiders, Dakota had withdrawn from several upcoming public appearances, choosing instead to stay home with her family and a few close friends. She had stopped scrolling through social media after fans began tagging her in endless posts about Jamie and the alleged mystery woman. "She's been seeing a therapist," the source continued. "She's not in a dangerous place, but she's mentally and emotionally exhausted. The pressure, the noise, it's too much." For an actress who had always been composed, graceful, and unflinchingly honest, this kind of silence felt like an alarm bell. The media, of course, didn't stop. Tabloids began speculating about her meltdown. Photographers camped outside her home, hoping to catch a glimpse. One even shouted, "Dakota, do you still trust Jamie?" as she left a wellness clinic in Malibu. She didn't respond. She simply kept walking, her face hidden behind oversized sunglasses, a bottle of water clutched tightly in her hand. Fans who saw the video described it as heartbreaking. One viral post read, "You can see the pain in her walk. She doesn't deserve this." Soon, the internet transformed from cruel to compassionate. The hashtag #StayStrongDakota began trending, filled with thousands of messages from fans across the globe. People shared clips of her interviews, photos of her smiling, and messages like, "She's always been kind. Let's give her the same love she's given us." The tone of the conversation began to shift. What started as scandal now became a story about empathy. Meanwhile, Jamie Dornan remained out of sight. No interviews, no social media posts, no clarifications. And in his silence, fans found their own interpretations. Some said he was protecting Dakota by not feeding the tabloids. Others accused him of avoiding responsibility. Then, after nearly 2 weeks of speculation, a short statement appeared through his publicist. Jamie wishes Dakota peace and privacy during this time. He denies any false claims about infidelity. It was calm, professional, but it came too late. The internet had already made up its mind, and Dakota had already paid the price. A few days later, Dakota was spotted having lunch with her mother, Melanie Griffith, at a quiet cafe in Santa Monica. Though she smiled faintly for a brief moment, the weariness in her eyes was unmistakable. According to onlookers, her mother held her hand throughout the meal, whispering words of comfort. She looked fragile, one eyewitness told Daily Flash. Like she was trying to hold it together, but the hurt was right there. And yet, through all the heartbreak, something remarkable began to happen. Dakota started speaking again, not through interviews, but through her actions. She returned to a charity event supporting mental health awareness, wearing a simple white dress and no makeup. She didn't talk about Jamie, or the rumors, or the pain. Instead, she stood on stage and said softly, "Sometimes, we all break. But the brave thing isn't pretending you're fine, it's asking for help when you're not." The room fell silent. Cameras captured the moment, and within hours, it became one of the most shared clips of the year. Fans called it her quiet comeback. Others said, she turned her pain into strength. Critics and fellow actors praised her for her vulnerability. One of her co-stars commented, "That's who Dakota is. She doesn't hide her humanity. She faces it." By the end of that week, the narrative had completely changed. The world stopped talking about Jamie's cheating scandal and started talking about Dakota's resilience. Even Jamie, when asked again in a later interview, spoke carefully but with respect. "Dakota's one of the strongest people I know. I wish her nothing but peace." It was short, but sincere. A moment that seemed to bring quiet closure to months of chaos. For Dakota, healing was still a process, slow, painful, but steady. Close friends say she's focusing on mindfulness, therapy, and reconnecting with the parts of her life that fame once took away. "She's finding herself again," one friend said. "Not Dakota the actress, not Dakota the ex, just Dakota, the woman." And maybe that's what makes her story so human. Because behind the red carpets, the magazine covers, and the rumors, there's a person learning how to breathe again after being broken. As one fan beautifully wrote online, "She didn't lose herself. She's rediscovering herself, one quiet, brave step at a time."